We begin with breaking news at noon. The FBI raiding the home of a longtime associate of President Donald Trump, Roger Stone, and arresting him. CNN was there for the early morning raid in Fort Lauderdale. And these live pictures from outside the federal courthouse in Fort Lauderdale. Stone is expected to be released on bond, and he is expected to speak to reporters. We'll get those pictures for you in a moment. And Roger Stone is charged in connection to special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian meddling during the 2016 presidential election. He predicted he would be charged and insists he is innocent. CBS 4's Riel Creighton is live outside the federal courthouse in Fort Lauderdale with more on what happened in court this morning. Riel.
Well, it was just after 6 a.m., before dark, that we got word of Roger Stone's arrest. By 9 a.m., our cameras were here, captured what was a dark-colored SUV entering the federal courthouse here. And by 11 a.m., Roger Stone was already before a judge to answer what was a 7-count indictment laid out from the special counsel's office. The counts including obstruction, making false statements, and witness tampering. A lot of this centering around what the special counsel alleges are the false statements that Roger Stone made to the House Intelligence Committee back in 2017. Our own CBS 4's Joan Murray was inside the courtroom at that moment that Roger Stone was in there. She joins me now. Joan, can you tell us what happened inside there?
Roger Stone looked a little tired considering the early morning wake-up call from law enforcement. He was very cooperative, very polite to the judge. The judge, Loretta Snow, read the indictment, and then she set bond at $250,000. It is what's called a signature bond. She told him he did not have to put up any money, but his house would be used as collateral. He was dressed in a blue shirt, like a polo shirt, blue pants, but very heavily shackled. His hands were so tightly cuffed that he had trouble writing his signature when he waived his right to a hearing, which is called a removal hearing, which would have positively was an identification hearing, so he waived his right to that. Then the judge set terms of the bond, basically where he could travel, restricted travel. He's been restricted to travel to New York, the Southern District of Florida, which is Vero to Key West, the District of Columbia, and also Eastern Virginia, so he can fly in and out to go to Washington. In fact, they said his next hearing will most likely be in Washington, D.C. Now, she also said a couple of other conditions. He had to surrender his passport. Very interestingly, he said he did not have a valid passport right now, so that was basically something he didn't need to do. She told him to not communicate with any witnesses in the case and do not sell any personal property without the consent of the court, otherwise he could be violating his bond. Again, she said he was very cooperative, and it was over in a matter of minutes. What we didn't get any insight into, they didn't really lay out the charges exactly, explaining what each of these charges meant. Now, I know you had a chance to read the indictment. What sense did you get, Riel, from the indictment?
Right. What you talked about, they didn't go into any of that. What the indictment really lays out are a lot of the building blocks, really how Roger Stone allegedly was making contact with WikiLeaks, who the special counsel's office has already said has ties or was in contact with the Russian government. So it's a very important moment in this special counsel investigation. So obviously we didn't get any of that information in court. This was all about those hacked emails that came out from the Clinton campaign, and this was about Roger Stone's efforts allegedly to coordinate with WikiLeaks for some of those dumps that had an impact on the election, some would say. So can you describe in court, though, Joan, what was his demeanor? Because through this entire process, he really has been so, at least publicly, defiant in interviews, but maybe anticipating that he would be arrested.
Exactly. And again, he's always been very cool under pressure, and I think that's what we saw today. Very polite. He wasn't naturally allowed to speak in federal court. His attorney did all the speaking for him. I did get to speak to one of his attorneys after the hearing. He told me that he was going to be released shortly. They were going upstairs to get all the conditions met. They have to check, make sure he doesn't have any outstanding warrants. And after that, he's going to walk out of this building. And at least his attorney told me that Roger Stone is prepared to make a statement. You can see behind us everything going on. He had some supporters in the courtroom, and he's got supporters out here right now, Riel. And also, we see some detractors with the signs.
Certainly somewhat of a circus-like atmosphere out here right now. The crowd has been gathering since the news of his arrest and that he was going to be appearing here in federal court. Of course, right now, as Joan said, we are awaiting Roger Stone himself to come out. And you said his attorney said he will likely be making a statement.
Exactly.
Of course, we'll be here on this story. Look for the latest update on CBS 4 News online and on air. For now, we're live in Fort Lauderdale. Riel Creighton, CBS 4 News.